What's going on, everybody? Just wanted to go ahead and give our podcast shout out for this new episode of the second season. And we are going to go ahead and shout out to the Horror Movie Podcast featuring Jay of the Dead, Dr. Shock, and Wolfman Josh. This is a really great in-depth podcast focusing exclusively on horror films. They go into some real solid analysis. They go really in-depth, something that we try to do as much as possible on this podcast ourselves, and we really do admire everything that they talk about. I mean, it's really a great show. Find them on Twitter, find them wherever you get your podcast, especially on iTunes. And yeah, their shows are a little long, sometimes over 2 hours, but it's totally worth it. They will totally point you in the right direction when it comes to horror movies and anything else related to horror as a genre. So give them a listen. On with the show. I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon. And I'm Ashley Chancellor.
This is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We're podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 podcast. So whatever you have, whether you have blunts, whether you have bongs, whether you have dabs, wax, vapes, whatever it is, joints, smoke it if you've got it.
But not heroin.
Oh, what?
But not heroin.
Yeah, not heroin.
None of that. None of that. Please don't do it.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Season 2 of Collateral Cinema. Y'all, I am totally stoked for this. I mean, this has been a long time coming. We've taken a little sabbatical.
We've been waiting for this, right, too?
Oh, yeah, we've been waiting for this for a while now. Right, Ash?
Guess who's back? Back again. Back again.
Back again.
Guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
No, yeah, I'm super excited to be back here.
Oh, man, this is great. And we are in the new studio. This is Section 9 Studios. That's the official name of this.
Section 9, nice.
Section 9. It's literally just a shed that I converted into a studio. Specifically for the podcast and for other reasons. And honestly, right now, it's sounding pretty good. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Oh, man.
Different change.
And since we were podcasting since we were on the air last time, we've gotten quite a few more downloads, quite a few more followers. We got a brand new, as everybody heard, a brand new intro song. We have a brand new logo, a brand new cover photo.
Season 2 logo.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Oh, man, I think that it looks great. It's professional looking.
Very professional, dude.
By Sam,
I was really impressed.
It's by Sam Briot on, you can find him on Fiverr. He did it for like $10. It was pretty solid. I give him a good review.
And who did the intro music?
The intro music is a license-free beat by a guy named Roger Plexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or at least that's what the file says on the computer. Whenever I look at it on the list, that's what it says.
You the man, Plexico.
Oh, man.
Selling your shit for free?
Well, hey, I mean, sometimes that's just the best way to get your name out there, you know?
That's true.
You would be surprised how many free beats you'll find on YouTube.
Well, that's what you want to do, Robert. You want to get your name out there with your filmmaking. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Stay tuned in for that, guys.
Oh, yeah, we got some interesting stuff coming.
Unfortunately, we couldn't finish the film before we started this. We wanted to do that. Yeah.
But we did get a lot of shooting done.
We got a lot done. But it's not finished yet. I mean,
yeah, now, what's the name of this film that we're doing again?
Killing Night.
Killing Night.
It's a short film.
Killing Night. What do you think, Ash?
That sounds just like what we're reviewing tonight.
Yeah, exactly what we're reviewing tonight. It's a total slasher. And right now we are totally stoked because we went to the theaters and we saw the new Halloween movie. That is our featured movie on this particular episode, on our season premiere. Now, guys, what are your initial thoughts on this movie?
Oh, it was great. It was like sitting down just like when you were a kid and watching the original for the first time, right?
Oh, certainly.
Now, see, I didn't watch the original, so this was a completely different experience for me. But nonetheless, being introduced to the world through this film. I think it was quite a ride.
Oh, it was, definitely. I mean, even that's what's kind of cool about it, is that even if you haven't really seen the original movie or the movies in between there, or even the Rob Zombie movies, I mean, you can still get into this movie. It can actually be kind of a standalone movie. I mean, even though a lot of it is dependent on the first movie.
I feel it provided enough background information.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I kind of knew the gist of the story, I guess, but not any details at all. So the movie I felt was sufficient.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's directed by David Gordon Green. It's written by Green and Danny McBride, right?
Yes, it is.
And it is produced by and scored by John Carpenter himself, the man himself. What did you think about the score, Robert?
Oh, I think it was bad. I mean, bad isn't good, but
yeah, it was awesome. It was
badass.
Sweet.
All of them. I mean, Gordon Green, Danny McBride, Carpenter. They sat down and wrote notes back and forth to each other, just pitched ideas what would work for this next version 40 years later, you know.
And then they still have that original theme.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they called back a lot of stuff from previous movies. You know, lots of really interesting stuff. And we will get into that a little later on in the episode. But right now, we're going to go into an overview of the actual franchise itself. I mean, we did Halloween in our first season. It was pretty much our second episode.
Yeah.
So we kind of went into a little bit of a history of how the movies were produced and, you know, what came out. But this time we're going to talk a little bit about the actual franchise continuity. So, Robert, why don't you just kind of at least give a little bit of a summary as to kind of the storyline starting from the end of Halloween and then going on till probably about the Rob Zombie movies.
Right now.
Yeah.
The end of Halloween, like in Resurrection, where they ended it right there in like 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it had been like a few years after that, right? Where they shot him, and then I think he burnt in the house, too.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's a few times where Michael has been killed.
He's been killed.
This season.
I think he woke up at the end of Resurrection, too, right? His eye opened up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was leading towards another sequel.
Yeah, and initially there was only supposed to be 2 movies with Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
The first one in Halloween 2. Because Halloween Season of the Witch, the third movie, I mean, that had absolutely nothing to do with...
Had nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Or Haddonfield or Laurie Strode or
not
Donald
even the story
Pleasance.
at all.
It would have been cool to see Donald Pleasance come in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ash just got a little bit of a cursory view of Donald Pleasance in the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very, very, very integral to how that movie actually set its tone and how it actually told its story. I mean, he's the one who really kind of elaborated that Michael is pure fucking evil.
Yeah.
And must be terminated. That's his language.
He tried to warn everybody.
He warned everybody that, this thing, he doesn't call him a man or anything, this thing needs to be put down.
He's just pure evil.
Pure evil. And that is completely established in the first movie, as we went into on the second episode of season 1.
Yeah.
But, Robert, describe a little bit about Halloween 2. Like, how did that actually pick up from the first movie?
I think when Loomis was, looking down towards the balcony, right? And
yeah.
he sees that he's not there anymore. He just took off, and then I think he's ranting and raving in the streets, saying that he shot him 6 times.
Yeah.
And then the other
straight up.
deputy sheriff didn't believe you couldn't have shot him 6 times.
Yeah, he couldn't have gotten up.
No man could take 6 slugs and still get up, right? And he's just falling to the hospital the whole time.
Yeah,
on foot
up.
to the right.
So it picks up immediately after the first film.
After the original.
Immediately after. Yeah.
It's the same Halloween night. Yeah.
Exactly. And in that movie, Ben TRAMER is killed, right?
Yes, he is.
Tragedy. A tragedy. A
Sort
true
of-
loss.
Sort of a Halloween prank, baby, that he didn't know that there was a killer running around.
Yeah.
But they were hunting him down, and they ran him over.
They ran him over and blew him up, kind of,
Yeah,
didn't he?
he burnt alive.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But in this continuity, Ben TRAMER lives.
He lives. The one and only Ben Tramer.
And also a big shout out to Cinema Snob for that. He's the one who pretty much perpetuated the Ben Tramer meme.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Especially throughout his look at that whole
His
series.
movie experience at the movies too, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. We actually saw the midnight screenings episode he did with his wife or ex-wife, I think. I don't know. And he actually played the Ben Tramer part with that mask and everything, and it was hilarious, man.
Hilarious.
Man, but I mean, now I'm just like, this movie completely corrects that. There's no Ben Tramer death. It's like, where's Ben Tramer in this movie? Man, it would be so cool if they actually kind of referenced Ben Tramer and what he was doing 40 years later.
Again, Ash, you don't see Ben Tramer's death till part 2.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, you don't see it in the first movie. It's
Who is Ben Tramer?
He's in the first movie. He's kind of mentioned in passing as somebody that Annie is going to hook Lori up with.
Oh, okay.
But then in the second movie, he actually kind of makes an appearance, but he's wearing a getup similar to Michael, like similar mask, coveralls, and everything. And he gets mistaken for Michael and killed.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened there. And throughout the series, I mean, it has cast a shadow. It cast a true shadow. It was so sad.
Everybody picked up after this random character death.
No, it's more or less a little bit of a meme amongst horror fans more than anything.
Picture of a meme right there.
Yeah, it's we're kind of joking a little bit there,
around.
but that is something that's kind of noteworthy to bring up.
You know, I'm something of a memer myself.
Oh yeah, that's true. Isn't that the fact?
That was a Raimi meme right there.
A Raimi meme. Oh no. Oh no. I knew it.
We start talking about like the season of the witch or Halloween 4 or 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in Halloween 2, it's, you know, we are going to go into some spoilers for a lot of these movies. I mean, they're pretty old by now.
Yeah.
But I mean, in Halloween 2, it ends with Michael pretty much blown up and burned, you know, along with the Donald Pleasance character, Sam Loomis, Dr. Loomis.
The oxygen bottles right at the end of the movie. And
Yeah. I mean, that to me could have been a perfect place to end that story. I mean, honestly, I like what they were going to try to do with that. They were going to kind of move it along to an anthology style series where every movie was going to be different from then on. But Halloween 3 just kind of tanked at the box office, even though it's kind of a cult classic now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, after that, they had to bring back Michael. Because, I mean, a lot of people just didn't, especially in that particular horror generation, they just didn't like that movie. And it was like they wanted more Michael because, I mean, at the time, the whole horror franchise thing was starting to pick up steam,
I bet
you know?
they went to the movies because they probably thought they were going to see Michael and they were disappointed.
Exactly. I mean, I would like to think so myself.
I would have been
as
disappointed.
well.
Like, okay, he's only mentioned in a Halloween trailer played on TV right after the Silver Shamrock stuff, right?
Yeah. There is a brief clip of one of the scenes from the first movie.
And it's actually a television movie.
Yeah.
In that film, right?
Yeah. It's supposed to be a television movie. So this franchise exists in the Season of the Witch Halloween 3 universe. It exists there, strangely enough.
Crazy.
But I heard a fan theory that actually makes perfect sense. That you know how in that movie, and spoiler alert, everyone, even for you, Ash, you're going to find out about this.
I'll plug my ears.
There were actual like androids or cyborgs in that movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of a theory that after Halloween 2, the Michael Myers that you see after Halloween 3, that he's one of those androids. He's one of those cyborgs, and that's kind of why he becomes even more implacable than he was before. And it almost makes sense in a weird way when you really think about it, and it actually fits Halloween Season of the Witch into the Halloween continuity. You know, it actually makes it not a standalone movie, but part of the franchise as a whole.
It's its own thing, its own right. Yeah,
it's its own movie. I mean, and
pretty cool.
It's a great movie, and I love it.
I'll watch it every now and then. I mean, I'll put it on.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And Ash, you gotta see it.
I'll watch the whole Halloween franchise.
You have to, bro. You have to be one of us.
And then watch the Cinema Snob episodes on it. In many ways, that's almost like definitive. In many ways, it's definitely comedic. He riffs on him, but it actually shows a pretty good cursory overview of the franchise.
So then after Halloween 3, then Halloween 4, they returned to Michael.
Yeah.
They brought it back to life, yeah.
The return of Michael Myers.
And Robert, how did that actually come about?
It'd been like a few years later, right? And then
Yeah.
I think Jamie Lloyd's born, right? And that's played by Danielle Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the movie that actually introduced Danielle Harris, right?
Yeah,
10
introduced
years
for
later.
sure. 10 years?
10 years later.
That makes sense. After 10 years, you know.
And they're trying to transfer him over, right, to a different hospital.
Yeah, which is kind of brought up in the new movie.
Just like this one,
it's
too.
just like, I mean, that's a definite callback there.
And he escapes.
Yep. He escapes and hilarity ensues, needless to say.
Yeah, you actually have to see part 4. It's pretty fun. I mean,
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
they just
doesn't
don't have Jamie Lee Curtis till Halloween H2O again. She
Yeah, after the 20 years later
she
thing.
didn't want to do another one.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. We're on.
We're here to investigate a patient that killed 3 innocent teenagers on a Halloween in 1978. He was shot by his own psychiatrist and taken into custody that night, and has spent the last 40 years in captivity. Hello, Michael. I have something you might like to see.
Everyone in my family turns into a nutcase this time of year. Yeah, I mean, your grandmother is Laurie Strode. She was almost murdered.
Wasn't it her brother who murdered all those babysitters?
No, it was not her brother. That's something that people made up.
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape?
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him.
Dad, look out!
The bus crashed.
Mom, what bus crash?
Michael escaped.
Excuse me, somebody's in here.
Hello?
He's waited for this night. He's waited for me. I've waited for him. Get out of the home! Get inside! You don't believe in the boogeyman? He's here! Michael! You should.
Can you close the closet door?
Honestly, given what that movie was, I mean, even though it's not a half bad movie, H2O,
H2O was pretty cool. I mean,
it's still kind of
it's like, the 20-year anniversary. I mean, I guess
it's still kind of weird how they went about, presenting her character at that point, like she was in witness protection or something like that.
No, my understanding is I did a little bit of research, and they actually killed off her character in 4 and 5, right? And in 6. But then H2O is like a continuity after 2, I think.
Wasn't H2O another reboot kind of?
Actually, H2O is a reboot. That's leading right after part 2.
So this isn't the first time they've even done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Interesting.
compared to H2O, which Ash is saying, part 4 and 5 never existed, and 6 never existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this isn't the first time that has all been retconned.
Yeah.
It's just that this time around, there's 4 or 5 other movies that are retconned.
H2O is technically like the part 3 too, right?
Right. And then after that,
Technically.
there was Resurrection.
Resurrection, yeah.
That's why I say that, if you really want to watch movies that are truly relevant canonically, I think that the first 2, H2O, and then the 2018 movie,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong with those. Those 4 movies, I think, are essential viewing in this series.
But then 2 and H2O aren't even canon to this new movie.
No, they're not even
hell
canonical. No.
Just the first one is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It lives up to the original, doesn't it? Right?
And then you guys said there was a Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, first let's
Duology.
talk about Halloween 5 first. At the end of Halloween 4, is that where Danielle Harris? She looks like she's going to become the new Michael Myers or something like that.
It's like they shot him into a mine shaft, right? And then they blew him up with dynamite.
Yeah, and she was dressed up in a similar costume to Michael when he was a kid.
The same costume.
Pretty much the same costume.
I think she stabbed her mother, like when she
Yeah.
was drawing bathwater for her or something.
Yeah, that's true. So he was kind of trying to make a case that, maybe the Myers curse kind of moves on from other people.
Yeah. I mean,
Back and forth.
she's still like blood, right? I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Halloween 5 that's not where Paul Rudd is introduced, right?
Paul Rudd is part 6.
That's in part 6.
Yeah.
Like in part 5, I don't even really think I saw that one. That's the
It's a little bit.
Revenge of Michael Myers.
Yeah, remember that Halloween party they were throwing where he steals a Camaro? That's a convertible.
Yeah.
He kills that little greaser dude for his 60s Camaro.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So they have,
I mean, I've seen that clip right there. I mean, that's a pretty notable death right there, but
And
I mean, I've never really seen the whole movie.
And I guess where he slashed everybody in the barn, right? I don't know if you remember that.
I don't think I really saw that, honestly. I didn't see that part. But I mean, what's the overall gist of that movie? I mean, is that where we first see the Cult of Thorn, or is that
Sort of. I mean, you see a black figure where I tried to show you he was in cowboy boots, right?
Yeah.
And in like a trench coat. And he breaks him out right at the end of part 5 when they arrested him, right?
Yeah, I think that
And
is. Yeah,
that leads into part 6.
so they had the return of Michael Myers followed straight by the Revenge of Michael Myers.
and then it was
Weird
followed by
titles.
the Curse of Michael Myers.
with Paul Rudd in 96.
That was Paul Rudd's first movie. Yeah. That was his introduction into the mainstream.
And Donald Pleasant's the last movie.
Yeah, his last movie before he passed away.
Yeah.
Like when did he pass away? It was 1990.
It's like 96, right?
96, 97, something like
I
that.
thought you said they killed off his character at the end of 2.
They brought him back in the other movies as well.
In
They kind of had to.
In part 2, they blew each other up.
Yeah, but in part 4 they show that he's at home. He's had to have reconstructive surgery because he was burnt and everything.
Oh, wow.
They're both burnt victims,
Yeah, exactly.
and he survived.
They both survived.
They both survived, but he has been in a coma for like 10 years until part 4, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
And then they were going to do another transfer there, right? Is that what happened there? And that's kind of a similar trope that's kind of recurring throughout the series.
It's like every 7 to 10 years, isn't it? Shit.
It's like, yeah, they try to move this motherfucker and then he gets out and kills a bunch of people. It's like, maybe y'all should just keep him in place.
Maybe you should just
Yeah.
keep, in one place until he dies of old age or something,
Yeah.
because he will kill you.
This guy
gonna get
always
out.
gets out.
He's
Yeah.
gonna get out. He's gonna kill again. Yeah.
Now, how does Halloween 5 actually end? Like what? Like
It ends with Donald Pleasance capturing him
oh yeah,
with
yeah.
the chain net, and then they arrest him in the police station, and it's a big shootout
oh,
at
that's
the police
right.
station
Damn.
with the
Sounds awesome.
the figure with the cowboy boots and the
Okay.
spurs. I don't know if
Okay.
you remember that. Anyway, he shoots up the whole police station,
Wow.
and he breaks Michael out.
And that's where we first start the whole Cult of Thorn.
Cult of the
tangent.
Thorn. It's like there's actually somebody following Michael through part 5 too.
Yeah,
he's like
yeah.
watching his back.
Exactly.
It's weird.
And part 6, there's actually 2 versions of that movie, right? There's theatrical cut, and then there's the producer's cut, which is kind of seen as the best version of that movie.
Yeah.
What's the difference
No,
between the
you're
two?
A lot of difference.
It
Like,
is a big
especially in the intro, in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, it's very different. Like, the theatrical cut, it's got all this weird kind of 90s-esque editing gobbledygook that's just really rapid, shows a bunch of images, and it's kind of a portent to what you saw in the 2000s a lot. You saw in the Saw franchise and everything.
Yeah.
Or Jacob's Ladder kind of started it.
But again, we do need to see the part 6, because
Yeah.
I did grow up with that. I don't know.
I would actually like to check out the the producer's cut of it first.
Mm.
That's actually what I would like to check
I don't
out
think
more.
I've seen the producer's cut all the way through.
But
yet.
in the mainstream continuity, they didn't end up producing anything after 6.
No, that canon was pretty much put to rest, and it went to. That's where it went to H2O, right?
Oh, in H2O in 98.
Yeah. And of course, we talked about that a few seconds ago. Now, that was where Laurie Strode comes back, but she's not technically Laurie Strode. She's in witness protection.
Yeah, she changed her name.
She changed her name. What was her name in that?
I totally forgot, damn it.
But yeah, she lives under an assumed name at that point. She has a son in that version, right?
The guy from the faculty.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, he was homeboy from the faculty.
Forgot his name. Damn it. Anyway, that guy walked away from acting, didn't he?
He pretty much did, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I ever saw him again after that.
Not after, like, Slevin. Lucky number Slevin, right? Or something.
He was in that movie?
With,
Bruce Willis was in that movie? Yeah.
Lucy Liu, too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. As such, because there's 2 versions of Curse of Michael Myers, there's also 2 different endings to it.
Yeah.
Like, I think the producer's cut, the ending has Michael Myers taking over the role of the figure in black, the man in black.
Yeah, like the thorn was passed on to him.
Yeah, the thorn, and the thorn passed on to Donald Pleasance.
When we watched that, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
how does that work? That's crazy.
Like, basically, he becomes the new, like, cult caretaker of Michael Myers.
So he goes evil?
I don't know if he goes evil. It's kind of thrust on him.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he has a real choice in the matter at that point.
Well, we need to watch part 5 again, Bo, and that does show a lot of the thorn.
Yeah. It does kind of show the
Cowboy.
lead up and
That cowboy that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I really do need to sit down and watch that. Now, in Halloween H2O, 20 years later, of course, how does Michael Myers return in that one? How does he actually come back? I don't really remember it.
That is weird.
And was this the one with LL Cool J or Busta Rhymes?
That's LL Cool J, yeah.
LL Cool J was in this one?
He comes back like another 20 years later, right? And then he's looking through one of the old doctor's file cabinets, the one that took care of Dr. Loomis before he
Oh,
died.
yeah.
And she was in the original part 1 and 2, right?
Yeah. Then after that, we don't see her again. We just see her offspring.
Yeah.
Yeah, from that point on. And now, how does that movie end?
H2O?
Yeah, H2O. That ends with her chopping his head off, right?
Yeah.
After trapping him in
Like a van between a log, right?
between like a tree.
A whole
Like a straight up
tree.
whole tree,
It's a whole dead
a
tree.
log, and then she just fucking, like, he's still trying to grab for her, even pinned to a fucking tree.
With a van.
Yeah.
With a van, just like.
He's still trying to get at her, and then
Yeah.
she just finally, it's like, was it a shovel or?
It was a fire axe.
It was a
remember?
fire axe?
She took that out of the dorm room or something.
And she just completely just lops his fucking head off there. And to me, that would have been an acceptable way to end that series.
For that time, remember that?
Yeah.
I thought it was over in 98 right there, dude.
That would have been adequate.
I thought that was over.
But of course, they had to bring him back in Halloween Resurrection, which is kind of seen as the low point of the series. In that one, they have a weird contrivance to bring Michael back. Like, what is that contrivance, Robert?
In Resurrection?
Yeah, at the beginning of Resurrection. Like, how do they...
Oh, like he switched out an EMT with his own clothes, right?
I still don't understand how that could have happened. Like, in what capacity could that happen during H2O? At what time frame?
When he was alone, where they were just checking if this killer was dead. When LL Cool J pulled, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, right off of him.
Yeah.
She was going to finish the job.
Yeah, she was going to take care of him.
She was going to take him out.
They could have, like, ended it right there even, and it would have been adequate.
But
I don't know. Nothing's more final than lopping a head off, though.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he blew up. Yeah, he could survive that.
Yeah,
but lopping a head off.
The whole bullshit about that is that he supposedly did a switcheroo.
Yeah, he pulled a switch.
Right.
He pulled a switcheroo on somebody.
It wasn't him.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah, seriously.
What? So then that guy was trying to kill as Michael?
It was weird.
No.
He tried to break out of a body bag, and he was in the same clothes Michael dressed in his clothes. He put him on him.
And he just
Right.
Michael just put the mask on him.
Put the mask.
Right, but why would he then go and try to kill the characters?
You need to see it. I mean, it's right in a van, and then as he's breaking out of the body bag, she hits the brakes, and he goes flying right out through the windshield.
Oh shit!
And she thinks he's trying to kill him the whole time. Yeah. It looks pretty convincing though, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she just shoves the van right through.
And in Resurrection, Laurie Strode is killed.
Right in the beginning.
Right in the beginning, yeah. She doesn't last very long.
Excuse me, someone's in here.
And I think that was a very, very bad decision. Like a terrible decision.
He went back to
Why bring her back and then
just to kill her again?
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's something that they completely addressed in the new movie. They addressed that entirely. But from there, from Resurrection, we go to the Rob Zombie movies.
Yeah.
Now, to me, I am so fucking lukewarm on the Rob Zombie movies. Like, I think the first one is better than the second one, but, I mean, it's an interesting idea. It has ideas there, but Rob Zombie just gets in the way of it too much.
Well, yeah.
If you've ever seen a Rob Zombie movie, you know exactly what I mean.
I didn't like the second Michael Myers too much, but something I was waiting 2 years for too.
Yeah, I mean, that one just injected more gobbledygook. Although he did try to actually address the whole trauma angle, which we're going to get into in this episode. He did try to address that in the second movie as to how that would actually look, but once again he drops the ball because there's too many Rob Zombie-isms involved in it.
It's too much. Devil's Rejects kind of.
Yeah, just that fucking trashy redneck bullshit.
It's kind of offensive to you.
It was very offensive, and it's like, I mean, it was sad because there are some great character actors in those movies. I mean, Ken Foray is back for a little bit, From he played the pimp from Devil's Rejects, and he was also in Dawn of the Dead. He was, when there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. He's that guy. That's
classic 80s. Yeah.
Classic 80s. And honestly, I really did appreciate how Rob Zombie did bring back a lot of classic fucking actors, especially genre actors like Brad Dourif, who I think is steals the show in both of those movies.
Which is the voiceover of Chucky. Right?
Yeah, he's the voice of Chucky from Child's Play.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool as fuck, dude.
And he's actually really good in both those movies. Really, really
Child's
good.
Play 1, 2, and 3, something we grew up with too. I mean,
oh man, I have Child's Play 1, and Child's Play 3 is actually a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me. It's actually a very silly movie.
In the army.
Yeah, and it's a military boot camp, boarding
cool.
school or something like that.
What?
Yeah, it's
he mails himself to him.
It's because he's trying to kill the original kid that actually had him in the first movie.
Andy Barkley,
exactly. He tracks him down to a military school, because he's obviously fucked up from what's happened to him, and he has to face Chucky again. And Brad Dourif is great in all those movies. Once again, he's arguably the centerpiece of the two Halloween movies. Him and Malcolm McDowell, who plays Loomis, Donald Pleasance's character. But, I mean, and let's talk a little bit about Loomis in those movies. He's very different.
Not like the Donald Pleasance we're used to, right?
Yeah, I know. He's not very subtle. There was a subtlety to Donald Pleasance,
Yeah.
that is just not really present there, especially in the second movie with Malcolm McDowell. Although he makes it his own thing It's like, I don't know.
It's like, it's missing something.
Talk about the Rob Zombie.
Yeah, we're talking about in the Rob Zombie movie. Yeah, Malcolm McDowell, he was Caligula. He was a homeboy from Clockwork Orange. And he was actually arguably one of the better. Also, the other really, really good part of that, Udo Kier makes an appearance in the first movie. Udo Kier does. And also Danielle Harris herself.
Yeah, she's in part 2. I think they kill her off in the second one, right?
Yeah. She's in both those movies.
I think
she's the Annie character. She's Annie.
Yeah,
in that version.
She was kind of pissed about not being in this one.
She should have probably had a little bit of a role.
I mean, she still looks young.
Yeah, she could have had some little role in this.
Still star of these two.
But I mean, from there we go to this movie now, Halloween 2018. Now, this is where everything is just completely wiped away. It's completely rebooted. It pretty much starts from the very ending of the very first movie. And after 40 years, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Laurie Strode, her character is just completely wrecked. She's a wreck, right?
Traumatized, post-traumatic stress.
Oh, man. I mean, and it's such a brave role for her, I mean, the first one was brave enough, that being her first role. And she nailed it perfectly. I mean, in many ways, she's the perfect scream queen.
How long did it take to... It filmed like 21 days or something?
Something like that. It wasn't even that long. We're talking about the first movie, right?
Yeah, this one right here.
No, it did not take very long for them to do that at all.
That's fucking badass.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I could tell the trauma with Jamie Lee Curtis. And this had come from not having seen the first one. She played a very paranoid character, but then, of course, by the end, you see that it's all very...
My argument there is that she's not so much paranoid. She just learned from her trauma, maybe in some ways that weren't very healthy, but
it was all justified by the end.
Yeah, she learned it and she prepared for it. So, I mean, that's my sense. She's more prepared than anything, right?
Yeah. Like I said, she ended up being right.
Definitely.
The last 40 years, he knew.
And I don't think that's too huge of a spoiler. Yeah. I mean, we know that Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be kind of a badass.
Yeah, she was very much kind of hyped up as a very different Laurie Strode here. I mean, she's older, wiser, quite a bit more traumatized. She really just brings it in this movie. And she was like the best part of the new movie. Mm-hmm. Like straight up. I mean, she was incredible.
The one and only, the original Scream Queen.
Yeah, straight up. But, I mean, what was great is that it was still a realistic portrayal of how a so-called final girl in the first movie, how she would actually deal with that trauma all those years later. Like, she by that point, she had like how many divorces? She'd already had 2 failed marriages.
I think she takes out her stress in a Target range right out back or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what's indicative of that Target range. Is like there's a lot of frustration there. A lot of frustration about what's happened with her family, what happened to her, And in many ways, I mean, I think that she kind of feels a little guilty about putting her daughter through all of that, but it was all for a reason.
Yeah. Which she's prepared.
She's about spoilers.
Very much prepared. Yeah. We're going to try not to go into too many spoilers about the new movie. I mean, that's why we're just mainly talking about...
I mean, that was in the trailer. I mean, everybody saw she was shooting this something.
Yeah, man. And she went badass to a whole nother level, I mean, she like knows her way around guns. She built an elaborate compound that keeps everybody out. And it was so compelling. I mean, especially given her trajectory from the first 2 movies and then through H2O and Resurrection and then having all that wiped away and come back to this.
Come back to now. This is basically part 2.
Yeah,
everything else never happened. This is part 2.
This is Halloween part 2.
Yeah.
The new canonical part 2 as far as I'm concerned.
Which is interesting because the first time they did that, they kept 2 in. But this time they just, which was because it was in the same night, but this time they just wiped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of brought it like 40 years later.
Do you think there was any reason for that?
Honestly, it's the only way that this story could have been realistically portrayed. If it was 40 years later.
Refresh the whole series.
Because they could have, basically made it more of a direct sequel, and the same time frame and everything. Like, they could have literally gone all the way back to 1978 or whatever, and they could have kind of brought it from there. They
left
could have,
off.
They could have picked up where they left off. Yeah. But honestly, it's like, I don't think that this movie could have been any other way. Otherwise,
it's so great on the screen, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Distinguishes itself more, I guess, because they already did a reboot which picked up after 2, and then they already did a full reboot, which was a little too much, and then this one, right after the first one.
I mean, even Friday the 13th is trying to do that. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, LeBron James is producing a new Friday the 13th, and I am actually very excited about that.
Is it a full reboot, or does it follow the original?
I think it might be a full reboot, right?
Yeah, it might be. I think so.
Which will be interesting because, I mean, Robert and I, we watched the recent remake, the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th, and I found it to be okay.
It wasn't too... I mean, at that time...
It had some interesting kills in it.
I would have loved it too, I mean...
And a very, very gratuitous sex scene.
Jared Padalecki.
Yeah, San Antonio boy.
Jared Padalecki, yeah. Supernatural.
Yeah, that's one of his first roles, right?
Movie roles, probably... he did The House of Wax in 2005.
I mean, is it his most notable one?
That one, yeah, because... he's been doing Supernatural for like 12, 13 years, right? I mean,
jeez, man.
Okay, but this question's really burning me, right?
What's that?
Gratuitous sex scene, does it include Freddy Krueger?
Freddy Krueger? And no, it wasn't. It wouldn't include.
I mean,
Freddy
sorry,
Krueger.
Jason. I don't know why I said Freddy Krueger.
You know what? That's staying in the fucking podcast.
That is fun.
That flub is staying in.
We need to bring you up on all this. Yeah.
It's like, my God, man. It's like
I swapped him. I know the difference. I legit.
You know what? You'd be surprised how common that is.
Yeah, people get it mixed up.
There's a lot of people, or like that old trope, where it's like the slasher killer is like an amalgamation of like Texas Chainsaw and. He's got the chainsaw, he's got the Jason mask,
You're right.
He's got the Michael Myers suit.
You're right. It's like Jason never had a chainsaw.
No, he didn't. He never used a chainsaw.
But
once.
Ash Williams did.
Ash Williams did. Oh, yeah, Ash Williams did.
Leatherface had the chainsaw.
Leatherface had the chainsaw, and he decidedly does not have a fucking hockey mask.
Yeah. It's somebody's face. It's all in leather.
Literally.
It's somebody else's face.
That's supposedly that's supposed to be what that is. Dead skin mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dead skin mask. Slayer. Does Ed Gein provide any inspiration for Michael Myers himself, or?
I'm not really sure about that. He does inspire like Texas Chainsaw too, right? Doesn't it?
Texas Chainsaw precedes Halloween, doesn't it? It came out before. Few years beforehand.
The original movie of Texas Chainsaw was like 74, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be a good 4 or 5 years before.
The actual event of the Texas Chainsaw was like 73.
Yeah.
True story, right?
Halloween says
supposedly
it takes place in 78.
Supposedly. I mean, we don't know how Hollywood jocked this up. I mean, with all the sequels, even in the 70s and 80s, so just milked it all for what it had.
Exactly. Yeah. But back to Halloween and back to Laurie Strode. I mean, we already talked about how she's different from the Laurie Strode in the first movie and in the other movies that she's featured. I think that we should definitely bring up Scout Taylor Compton's Laurie Strode in the Rob Zombie movies, which was an entirely different interpretation, of course. Much more modern. She's a younger girl.
Oh, she's beautiful. So
yeah, Scout Taylor Compton she's definitely a serviceable actress. I just don't think she was particularly given some great material to work with.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel.
Brought Danielle Harris back and as her friend, and
that was a good little shout out to the other movies right there. Was having Danielle Harris back
because she's part 4 and 5. So.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The daughter of Laurie Strode, right?
Yeah. She's the daughter, exactly. But I mean, Scout Taylor Compton's role is like, first off, she's a little more of a straightforward character in the first movie. But in the second movie, she tries to take the whole traumatized PTSD thing, and it's good that movie actually tackled it like that, but I don't know. Once again, like I said earlier, the zombie-isms just drown it all out.
Yeah, with that white horse we see the whole time. Remember that?
The white horse, and then there's the ending, which, it was nice to see the little psycho smile there. That was
Anthony
interesting.
Perkins, thank him for that.
Yeah. That was an interesting little callback, but it was kind of confusing. You know, it's like, I get that you're trying to go art house with this zombie, but get to the fucking point.
You just jocked Hitchcock, Anthony Perkins. Like,
seriously,
dude, man, he would be rolling in his grave. He's fucker. Oh, sorry.
Oh, fucking cuss all you fucking want. I don't fucking care.
Damn.
Fuck everything.
Anthony
Fuck damn good
Perkins.
shit.
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins was great.
It was the shit.
Language.
Yeah. No language.
That was a real actor too. Huh.
Michael Myers is a human being who killed his sister when he was 6 years old. And he came after you. We just want to know why. We want a glimpse inside his mind.
Michael Myers murdered 5 people. And he's a human being we need to understand.
They're transferring him.
Tomorrow, 7 o'clock.
You know, he'll be locked away until the end of his days.
That's the idea.
Laurie, we saw him. We met with Michael. I showed him the mask. It was nothing. No response, nothing. He won't talk to anyone. Never has, but I think he might speak with you.
But, I mean, how do you think Scout Taylor Compton actually approached the role that she did?
See, I was
Robert.
still a kid at that time. It was like 2007.
Yeah.
And not too bad, really. I mean, I loved it too. I loved what he was trying to do, but I didn't like the fact that Michael was like a 7-footer, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of a normal build to Michael in the first 2 movies, especially.
Yeah.
And even in some of the, like, 5 and 6.
He's
it's like,
freakishly huge, man. Look at
yeah,
that.
he wasn't this bodybuilder.
Bigger than a tree. I mean,
Yeah, seriously. And then what is the whole thing in the Rob Zombie movies where before Michael escapes, those 2 guards go in there and try to rape that girl? What the fuck is that?
That is stupid as shit. That's like the uncut, unrated version,
Yeah,
right?
why the fuck would you be doing that in his room? Like, that scary motherfucker.
Just left the door for him to break out.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, you may as well just given him the fucking keys and just gone into another room. Well, I mean, first of all, you don't need to be raping fucking mental health patients, for one. It's like, for one.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
And it was kind of unnecessary, I think.
The dysfunctional
Did it for the
family.
shock value.
Because the thing is, there's not a whole lot of real base sexuality throughout the Halloween movies. There's some nudity there, and there is some intimations of it. And yeah, you know, Michael does kind of get, there is that whole connection between him punishing teenagers who are having sex and whatnot. But I kind of feel like that was always a little more Jason's thing.
It is. It's
You
the
know?
premarital sex. He just smells it, I think.
Yeah, but there's not really a whole lot of real sexuality to the Halloween movies. Even in this new movie, there's not really anything like that in there, right?
No, nobody's doing any of that.
I mean, you just see Allison Strode's boyfriend making out with another girl, but that's about it.
Dry fucking.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the whole references to dry fucking, but even that's very tame.
Yeah.
That's extremely tame,
They
actually.
don't do anything. Yeah.
Seriously.
And-
It's like it's more like innuendo than...
What, did the rules change? Because it's 2018 now? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of goes back to how prudish American culture can be about sex. You know, I mean, you can show all the fucking violence in the world, but heaven help you if you show some titties or a
Maybe
dick
because
or
it was
something.
underage sex.
That's another thing, but that hasn't stopped fucking horror movies in the past, dude.
No, at least
That
a little
hasn't-
bit of tit flashing.
Right, in the past it wasn't an issue,
There's-
but now
Plenty of that in Nightmare on Elm Street and in Friday the 13th. There's a lot of that. Sleepaway Camp. It's like Sleepaway Camp got perverted with it.
Yeah, it's
Had it straight up creepler in that movie.
like teenage unhappy campers and teenage
And let's not even get started on The Burning.
The burning. Yeah.
Oh, that is a rapey ass movie. Still a great horror movie, but a rapey ass movie written and produced by Harvey Weinstein.
oh, that explains it.
Explains everything. It's like, oh my God. I think we brought this up in the Zombie Honeymoon episode, but once
Yeah,
again,
we did.
it's like, oh my God, why didn't anybody see this coming? Why didn't anybody see that? It's so obvious Right, Robert?
Yeah, pretty much.
And very disturbing.
Very
as
1982, like 81.
But this movie has some amazing themes to it, you know? And the main theme that's recurring through it is trauma and how someone actually individually deals with it. Because, I mean, like we said, you know, Laurie is more prepared than paranoid, but it's obvious that her trauma does manifest itself in many ways. Like in that restaurant scene where she shows up to her family, her granddaughter, her granddaughter's boyfriend, and her daughter. It's like that is a very awkward scene.
It's like
but
she had a nervous breakdown, pretty much.
Pretty much, but it's very real.
And she can't function in normal society.
Yeah.
She can't. I mean, she had to make that compound. She had to make that for him, you know? She had to. You know, and we're not really going to go into how the new movie ends or how the compound plays into anything. We'll just say that, yeah, Laurie is kind of a prepper here.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not a prepper. You know, she's not prepping for doomsday. She's prepping for this inevitable moment when this creature fucking comes for her again.
So she's maybe kind of like Loomis. She's like, he needs to be put down. If he's not put down, then eventually he's just going to come back. He's going to find a way.
Yeah, she pretty much is of that line of thinking. Exactly. And it's kind of funny how she brings up the new Loomis thing, you know, because there is a doctor that takes over the Loomis role.
Yeah.
Where we're not going to tell you where that ends up. It ends up in a way that I kind of feel is a little bit of a detour in the narrative.
Weird.
But I mean, if you see the movie, ladies and gentlemen, you'll know what we mean.
It just didn't seem necessary.
No, it was pretty unnecessary.
Pretty
like y'all know exactly
like
what
you
scene we're
said,
talking
like
about.
some Thorn stuff just coming out again.
Yeah,
You know?
it felt cold to Thornish.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I just don't know. It was very weird. And also another thing that was interesting about those themes is how that actually affected Laurie's family. I mean, the aforementioned restaurant scene, but also there is another scene where Laurie shows up at their house and they have to deal with her. You know, we're not going to
Spoiler free.
We're not going to spoil
Not
what
too-
actually happens there, but
Not too much.
you know, she does show up and it does cause conflict. You know, we'll say that. And it really just kind of undercuts, you know, how those types of traumas and those types of experiences, they cut deep and they cut into other people's lives as well.
3 generations of Strode.
3 generations of Strode are featured in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, 3 generations of them. And it takes 3 generations of them to take on Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty much the Strode family that's fighting him here. And I think that's one of the other themes here is about, you know, how family actually plays into that trauma and how family can actually help both exacerbate and alleviate it.
Do you think there was a clear protagonist? Because I think that both Allison and Laurie
They kind
that
of both
role.
share a little bit of a protagonist role there because, I mean, one thing we will say is that there is no final girl here. There's no, I mean, Allison's not a final girl.
All 3 of them are. Oh, actually, the
Mostly.
young one's holding the knife.
The young one, I guess
And
you could say, it is close to a final
What
girl.
is cool is I've been watching a lot of horror films, and all of them end like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the back of a truck, right?
And
That is cool.
yeah, that is.
Sorry.
That is interesting.
So what I thought was interesting too is this movie doesn't even open up from the point of view of either Allison or Laurie. It has
No,
a
it
different
doesn't.
perspective
Yeah.
with those the podcasters.
Yeah, that's actually something that I thought was really cool and an interesting way to actually introduce Michael back into the canon.
Right.
You know?
It follows them for a little while in the beginning.
Yeah.
I actually thought they were going to be the main characters.
Yeah, but let's just say it doesn't end well for anybody there. That's all I will fucking say. They may or may not survive. Let's just put it that way. And yes, we will be coy about that.
They may or may not.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe they kind of fucking show that in the trailer. If you've seen the trailer, you could probably surmise what happens.
I don't think if anybody had watched the originals, they would have thought that those characters end up being the protagonists for the whole movie. So
Number one,
obviously something happens.
I honestly thought that the dude Aaron, the male podcaster, I kind of thought that he was going to become a little bit of a Loomis almost. I thought he was going to kind of become a Loomis, just not as a psychologist.
Like, how the hell you get
But
a
as
hold
that
of
male
mask?
lead.
Yeah.
The Attorney General's
There wasn't a
office
male
had the
lead.
mask.
Yeah, there wasn't an actual male lead here.
Well, Michael, but you know.
I think, you can argue that Michael is the lead.
You could
character of
argue
this
because
movie.
a lot of it's put from his point of view. So, in addition to being the antagonist, though, at times you actually follow him. And
Yeah, and that kind of calls back what happens in the first movie, where the first thing we see is Michael's point of view.
First person.
I mean,
First person.
if you look at the franchise as a whole, too, it's the story of Michael Myers.
Yeah. It's very much about Michael Myers and his pursuit of the Strodes.
Yeah.
And it's very single-minded. At least in the first few movies that feature him.
Mm-hmm.
It's very single-minded. But then it gets convoluted by the whole, Cult of Thorn thing.
Yeah,
Then Rob Zombie.
And then Rob Zombie had to come in.
Had to come in and redneckify everything. Make a bunch of dirty rednecks. No offense. I don't know. I don't know why he does those characters. It's fucking
That's
stupid.
weird. A little disturbing.
Yeah. But in the end, all three Strodes do come together. They face adversity. And we'll leave it up to the audience to find out if they triumph.
It's a strong female empowerment moment.
It is. It very much is. And it's very empowering, especially given the themes of victimhood and trauma.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because with things like, the Me Too movement and a lot of like female empowerment, feminist kind of things going on now. So I think that's important to have.
It's very timely.
And it's not even just one female lead. I mean, you've got,
Yeah, you've got 3 different generations of the Strode women in this movie, I should say. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the actual production of this movie. This was directed by David Gordon Green. He directed Pineapple Express, right?
He did Pineapple Express.
What has he done any other movies other than that? Like
a lot of Danny McBride's films.
Like, didn't he have something to do with This Is the End? Didn't he direct that? I mean, I would be.
I know he did. What was that other one with James Franco? Like Your Highness, right? Remember that?
Oh yeah, that's
Stuff
right.
Like,
he
stuff
did
like
Your
that.
Highness, like
Stuff like that.
Didn't that also have Natalie Portman in it?
Yeah, see, that's Pineapple
Danny
Express
McBride?
all over. That's David Gordon Green all over it. Yeah.
James Franco.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. He has a working relationship with James Franco as well.
It's
I
like
swear to you,
they're,
Spider-Man will pay.
Film school buddies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just came together and wrote this Halloween movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's co-written by Green and Danny McBride, right?
Just
I don't know if John Carpenter had any oversight
of the writing. No,
of the writing.
not
No,
really.
I mean
But
he was a producer, and of course he scored the movie.
he did pass notes back and forth.
Tom Green?
No, David Gordon Green. Shout out to Tom Green. He's liked a few more of our tweets.
Love you, Tom
Yeah,
Green.
he
Love you.
has. Yeah, we love you, Tom Green. But David Gordon Green, his direction in this movie was very sparse, I think. I mean, there's a lot of moments where there's quiet here, which once again calls back a lot of what the original movie was. A lot of the original movie was kind of build up and tension,
Exactly.
There's several fake outs.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake outs. Both in the first movie and in this movie.
Scare.
Which is awesome because it builds up the suspense, and then you're just like,
That's something we don't have anymore. Is that 70s, 80s suspense builder?
Yeah, exactly. And this really just kind of brought that back. I mean, it actually did feel like an older movie, but it was still very modern. Like, you still had cell phones, you still had, I think there's a little bit of an internet in here.
It's a good slasher movie. I mean,
Yeah.
you just want to sit down and watch a good slasher movie, right? Everybody does.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since there's been a really good, serious slasher in the theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, you either get something that's a little more tongue-in-cheek, like Happy Death Day, or what's that Hellfest movie, I think it is? It's called Hellfest.
they did Scream recently, and that was kind of the same thing as this
but
movie, right?
The thing about Scream is that was always a satire of slasher movies.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's especially obvious with the very first movie,
So-
like with Drew Barrymore's scene.
Wes Craven,
Yeah.
Scream Street.
And Wes Craven,
Love that, yeah.
he completely reinvented the slasher genre after that. And I think it was Kevin Williamson. He was the one who wrote that movie. Like, he kind of became a little bit of a... He kind of became like the John Hughes, or like... The analog nowadays would be Stephen Bloom. You know, the dude who runs Blumhouse.
Oh.
That would be his analog today, more or less.
When did they ever do a Freddy versus Jason versus Michael Myers? Three-way.
You'll see that on fan films.
Yeah, you'll see it in fan films.
Gotta sit down and
But
watch
I
all
mean,
this.
originally that was going to have Ash from Evil Dead, which made sense, and there was even some intimations that Pinhead could have been involved from Hellraiser.
They're gonna get Leatherface.
Yeah,
Could.
something like that.
They could. Fan films, bro. We just sit there and watch them all night.
Exactly, man. Fan films are a lot of fun, especially
great.
for Friday the 13th or Halloween.
The boogeyman? All this hiding, all this preparation, it was for nothing. I mean, it took priority over your family. It cost you your family.
If the way I raised your mother means that she hates me, but that she's prepared for the horrors of this world, then I can live with that.
Say goodbye to Michael and get over it.
As far as the production of this movie, I mean, what did y'all think about the writing of the movie? The actual writing that Green and McBride did here.
It's actually, summed up the last 40 years. It was fantastic.
It was really great, you know? I mean, not to mention, putting aside the actual themes that we talked about earlier, just as a basic horror movie, it actually really hit all the notes.
That was
writing
damn
is
good.
really great.
I wish we can just go to the movies and watch it all the time, though. Yeah.
I would love that, man.
That would be fucking
exactly.
great.
That would be great to have a private screening room for shit like that.
I'd be down to go watch this again.
Yeah, I would love. You got to see it in.
We need to go again.
Yeah, we got to go back to the theater. We got to see it again, all together, all three of us.
It's the second week it's been out already.
I'd love to experience it in the theater. I kind of.
That's the only way.
On that
That's
experience.
the only way
Yeah.
to watch one of these. Yeah, we have to go back.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great theater experience too. Like everybody was really, really into the movie. They just kind of. There was nobody heckling it. There was nobody bullshitting. Right? It was pretty legit.
I'm a really big movie theater guy. I love the experience.
yeah.
I know I'm paying extra. I know, but I got to go all out. I got to have the popcorn. I got to have the soda. For
oh
me,
man, you're one of those people.
it's
Jesus
if I'm going to
Christ.
the movie and I'm buying an overpriced movie ticket, I got to have popcorn and soda too.
Right
So,
on.
Walk out every time to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Now, and John Carpenter
Try to
did
hold
the
it.
John Carpenter did the score of this movie. I think we briefly talked about it earlier, but the score here is once again very sparse because of Green's directing. It's pretty sparse because of that, but it totally fits the Halloween ethos and the aesthetic, like perfectly. It still feels like old school analog synthesizer music.
Even the intro from like 78. Or,
Yeah, and the cool thing is John Carpenter, he does go on tour and perform his music. He does do that. And so does Argento and Goblin. They do that as well. They play like the Suspiria or the Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, Carpenter
So-
used to be in a
scores.
band.
He's a director, writer, and he does music.
And he does
Yeah,
music.
he
He's
used
a jack of all trades,
Used to be in
man.
a band.
So in the original, did he write the original score for that also?
Yeah, he did.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, he also performed it, right?
I think so.
I think he did. He co-wrote it and he performed it. But I mean, I really, really liked the music, and the sound design in this movie was spot on.
Cool.
Cinematography-wise, like I said, it feels like an old movie.
And we will get the mask
Yeah.
for this 2018 film.
Yeah, we are going to do a fan film for this movie.
Hopefully.
Sometime soon.
Get everything together and get everybody.
And there were a lot of Easter eggs in this movie. Like we went through a few of the callbacks, talking about the franchise, but the young boy's death in the driver's seat, that's a callback to Annie's death in the first movie. He's in a car, he's strangled, and then he just dispatches him really quickly. Yeah, there's a child that's killed in this movie. At least one.
I didn't see that come. I don't think anybody did. Right?
I don't think anybody saw it coming either.
I didn't know he would. Yeah.
Of course, everybody kind of groaned at the father there.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go into why. Let's just say it was stupid.
I mean, the little kid just wanted to dance.
He just wanted to dance, man.
Just wanted to dance for his father.
I just want to dance, Dad. Damn it,
Want to
Dad.
tap dance?
Want to dance.
Curb tap.
I want to go curb dancing.
Curb dancing.
I love curb dancing.
Kevin
I curb
Bacon.
dance all the time. I dance on all curbs.
What
We're referencing a Harmony Korine short, by the way. Definitely watch curb dancing. It's interesting. And at the beginning of the movie, there's that kind of inverse of the original title screen, right? Like, it started with this dilapidated pumpkin that's all rotted out and just kind of desiccated. And then it just slowly, in reversed stop frame, like time lapse, it completely just plumps back up and turns into a big old jack-o'-lantern.
That was fun when we first saw that on the screen.
That was really cool. I was like, that's clever as fuck.
That is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to both evoke the first movie and kind of differentiate it a little bit.
Michael Myers is coming back.
Exactly. Like, it's kind of symbolic of the return to form here. You know, it's a serious return to form. And Judith Myers, her headstone shows up in this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the podcasters go to the cemetery, you know, that shows up again. That's a nice little callback. And was the Myers grave disturbed in this one, or did they just go there just to
photograph it? Really.
Just to photograph it and everything? Yeah.
Podcast episode, I think, online
and
stuff.
The silver shamrock masks from the third movie, from Season of the Witch, show up here. All three of them, right?
Yes, they do.
Let's see here. It's a skull, a witch, and a jack-o'-lantern.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. I saw that. I was like, oh, Season of the Witch. Fuck yeah.
You guys kept actually calling out a lot of things, like a lot of especially thematic things.
Yeah.
I noticed you're like, oh, that's Halloween 4 right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of thematic elements.
Part 2
that are
with
just
Season of the Witch 3 right there.
That are directly called back. You know, there's a lot of stuff in this movie. Like, if you've seen the Halloween franchise, was there any references to the Rob Zombie movies? No, there's no reference to that.
They just kind of want to forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to kind of...
I think John Carpenter
Even John
doesn't-
Carpenter, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even like
Nope.
it.
John Carpenter didn't
And
like those. No.
Usually it takes a lot for a creator to publicly diss the remake.
Well, I don't know. I mean, remember that Stephen King, he very openly did not like Kubrick's version of The Shining. He hated it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't see it as a true adaptation, and it's not. But, I mean, you know, that's a conversation for another
But he liked the
episode,
new
though.
It, right?
Oh, the new It is great.
But Stephen
Can't wait
King-
for the new
Stephen
Pet
King
Cemetery.
liked it too, right?
Can't wait for the new Pet Cemetery. That's going to be fucking awesome.
Chapter 2 of It should be out.
Yeah, that'll be out in November, right?
That'd be great.
Oh,
Really?
man.
That's in.
Chapter 2, which we'll probably be going on-screen episode to, right? Maybe.
Yeah, we might do an on-screen episode
Maybe.
on that. I would like to actually maybe do something for YouTube for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Put a face to the voice.
Yeah, at least record something in the car or something.
Let me grow my beard back out.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that's brought up back in the intro is the "and introducing" credit. That's kind of a tradition for Halloween movies, is because, like we said before, this movie has brought some really, really incredible talent into the fray here. You know, like Danielle Harris, Paul Rudd, Jamie Lee Curtis herself, you know. And now they have a young man by the name of Jibrail Nantambu. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this kid steals this movie. Steals it entirely. And he pretty much establishes himself as the funniest character and the smartest character in the entire series.
It was improv, right?
Yeah, he improvised most all of that.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He's hilarious, and he's so on point. It's like, oh my God,
What I
man,
kept
where do they
thinking-
find this kid?
What I kept thinking was, okay, you know all the stupid shit that white people do in horror movies?
Yeah.
This is the kid that knows better.
Exactly.
He knows not what
Yeah,
what to do.
he is a black kid, and that is kind of, in a weird way, I think it's symbolic there.
Yeah.
That's
Because
hilarious.
he's not a token character. He's not killed. First,
He's just not a stupid ass white person.
He ran out the front door.
He ran out the front door when it happened. Like, we won't spoil too much about it, but we will say that he does escape, and that makes him the smartest character in this entire franchise.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he doesn't try to go out and explore something on his or her own.
That's hilarious.
What does he tell Dave?
Oh, you go
man.
check it out.
You go check it out. Oh, that got such a laugh in the theater.
Hilarious.
Oh my God, that was so great. But I mean, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, watch that kid, Jibrail Nantambu or
He's coming up.
Nantambu. He is coming up.
Future
He is
star.
going to be amazing.
Maybe when they do a Black Panther reboot in like
That would be
10 years.
interesting. That'd be
Like
interesting.
sitcoms,
Yeah.
stuff like The Middle, you know.
You know, maybe Jordan Peele can get him in one of his movies soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
you know.
kid could have his own show instantly.
He
Just-
could easily.
and then movies from there.
Oh man, he
More
can go.
movies.
He can. I mean, Netflix would be crazy not to scoop him up for like Stranger Things or something
Yeah,
like that.
he's got it.
You think Tyler Perry would tap him? He's
Tyler
got that
Perry
comedy
could-
element.
Tyler Perry could probably bring him.
I can see
into it.
him with.
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Tyler Perry's filmmaking ability. He's kind of hackneyed, you know.
A little too raunchy, maybe.
And also, I mean, there's a lot of technical flubs in his movies that are just kind of unforgivable, like sound flubs. It's like, my God, are you just using the boom mic and nothing else?
It's like I expected if we're gonna watch like an indie movie or something, but even some of those have really good quality.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. But yeah, Jibrail Nantambu, definitely look out for this kid. I mean, I'm sure you can probably find him on IMDb. It's like, everybody follow him, watch him. He's going places. Now, another thing that we want to bring up, because Robert and I saw this recently, and we talked about the fan films earlier, is a specific fan film that was hyped up for a good like year, right?
It was The Spirit of Haddonfield.
The Spirit of Haddonfield, and that is actually a very interesting short fan film.
Well, 20 minutes long. Not too bad, though. Right?
It's maybe 15 or 20 minutes long, and it tells a very self-contained story that still evokes the original Halloween movie, like especially on the streets, and you know, the whole stalking that Michael is known for, like that is perfectly encapsulated
But
there.
like, was it Flagstaff, Arizona, or somewhere right there?
Yeah, it was filmed in Arizona, but they still made it look like Haddonfield. It's
looked like it.
incredible.
Found the right neighborhood.
Do you know where they filmed Halloween?
The original Halloween?
Was it
Or
California?
the original or this one? The new one?
It was California. I don't think that I don't think that they were actually on a film set or anything
No,
like that.
it's
It
just
was
a
Why doesn't anyone actually
it's a
film
neighborhood, yeah.
in the locations that their stories take
Like
place?
a backlots.
nowadays they do that a lot more. It just depends on what they need.
I don't know. I was just always thought like, okay, if I need to film in Illinois, if I'm filming Illinois, I should film in Illinois.
Go to Chicago, right?
What better place, right, than
Well,
the actual?
you'd be surprised, man. I mean, a lot of cities, they have their own film boards, you know, and they really try to aggressively have filmmakers come and work there, especially big Hollywood filmmakers. Like, they'll give them, like, tax breaks and whatnot. Like, that's a whole nother level of politics involving the film industry. Right
I always
there.
did wonder why that happened.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Like, I get if, like, you know, you don't want to go all the way to Rome or something, but I always thought it was odd when they filmed in one city and they said it was another.
See, we go to Hawaii and film Jurassic Park, right?
Mm-hmm,
Just
exactly.
to cut budgets. Yeah, Halloween. This movie's great as fuck.
This movie is so
Go
awesome,
and
man.
watch it.
But I mean, once again, I am so excited. Ben Tramer is alive.
Ben Tramer
Ben Tramer lives,
is
people.
alive.
Hashtag Ben Tramer
Ben
lives.
Tramer.
Fuck yeah! Hashtag the shit out
Has
of
that
that.
been memeing a lot lately?
Well, like we said, that's more of a Cinema Snob meme. I mean, if you're a fan of Brad Jones and the Cinema Snob, you'll know exactly what that is, because it's really funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's really
You got
great.
the mask from part 2, Ben Tramer.
Yeah, the Ben Tramer mask in the midnight screening.
So hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick that one over on across the street. Oh, what the? Hey, sorry about that.
But honestly, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for this first episode of Season 2. Halloween 2018 is right now the #1 movie in America. It had the best opening for a October horror film. It actually beat it.
Coming out in October.
Yeah,
close to Halloween.
And
wow,
it's also the best horror opening for a horror movie with a female lead as well. It's an amazing opening.
We tried to keep it spoiler free because y'all should really go and see this for
you
yourselves.
You really should. Like, we're gonna have there's some minor spoilers in this episode. I'm not gonna lie. I think we still kind of reined it in just fine.
I don't know. I feel like we ended up talking more about the franchise.
I think that it's honestly because it was important to understand the franchise in order to understand this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually very important to understand it.
So you got to go back to the first one.
You got to go back to the first one. You got to know, the trajectory of those movies and how they worked out.
And that's what this is. This is kind of like it's interesting for me because I didn't see it this way.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a callback for the fans. It's definitely meant to be
It's very much, in many ways, the ultimate fan film.
Right.
It's probably next to Jason X. It's probably which is the greatest fan film ever made.
You still have fun watching Jason X.
Oh, Jason X is so much fun. that and Freddy vs. Jason to me are just really fun movies, and that's a great double feature as well. Great double feature, ladies and gentlemen.
Freddy vs. Jason.
But yes, watch Halloween, and also stay tuned for season 2 of Collateral Cinema. Our next episode is going to be, once again, we're going to have a few episodes that are callbacks to our first season, and this is going to be The Disaster Artist.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the movie about The Room.
I missed out on the podcast of The Room. I wanted to get on board as early as that, but
you are on the commentary, which, by the way, is still up on Podbean Patron. Ladies and gentlemen, please give us money for our commentaries.
Please, so we can continue the dream.
We have a Patreon, but we're not going to start working on that until probably here a little while later. I don't know. There's just not a whole lot of people coming to it, whatnot.
We're supporting starving families.
Yeah, something like that.
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, we look forward to bringing you some quality content this season. So with that, you can find Collateral Cinema on iTunes. You can find them on Spotify. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on Google Play. You can find us on
YouTube.
Stitcher. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us...
They don't take it down.
You can find us on Tumblr. You can find us on... WordPress, yeah.
Wow.
Did I say Google Play? We're on Google Play.
Yes.
Who uses Google Play?
Android users. And I just recently put in a request to be featured on iHeartRadio. So hopefully we might be on that
iTunes,
platform.
iHeart,
On iHeart. That'll actually be pretty spot on.
Going
guys.
places.
And also, please follow us on Twitter, at C Cinema Podcast. You can find us on Facebook as well. And we are also on Instagram. Yes. Hit us up on Instagram, and our email is collateralcinemamoviepodcast@gmail.com. If you are an indie movie filmmaker, if you have even a short film or a full feature, send us a screener.
We will review that.
Yeah, we'll find some time in this season to review it.
In addition to following the Collateral Cinema, I think we all have individual accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So if you want to do a little bit of digging, you can always check out our individual personal accounts. Yeah, I post a lot about Collateral Cinema online.
Yeah, me too. I post a lot of it.
Somewhat, and car stuff. Also.
Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and wind it down, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad to be back. We're happy that we had so many people listen to us and download us. Please keep the downloads coming. And there's going to be much more in store for y'all. So, for Collateral Cinema, I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
And I'm Ashley Chancellor.
Collateral Cinema out.
Bye.
Collateral Cinema is an L Company production. All music and movie clips are owned by their respective creators. Please don't sue us. We're poor.